My name is Ashley, and this is Let's Talk Dispatch.
I do. You're gonna do it. Do it really well.
And I believe the world needs more dispatchers.
Around in the mud, blood, and beer.
Years that I'm not working 4th of July. 4th of July.
Say community policing, right? What about community dispatching?
So on this show, with the help of my guests, we will educate, empower, and support the heroes behind the headset. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here on Let's Talk Dispatch with me, Ashley, the Raspy Dispatcher. We have officially opened up the books for anyone wanting to be a guest on the show through December. So if you follow me closely enough, you know that means we are at shift change for my agency. We shift every 4 months. So next cycle, which starts next month, I will be going to day shift. And I already think I'm regretting it in my head, but I like to do it at least once a year. We sign up every 4 months, just so I could, spend regular people time with my people. So if you have been interested in signing up to come on the show, but the slots have been a little limited, we have opened it all the way up through December. So plenty of time and place for anyone who's interested to grab a slot. So check that out at theraspydispatcher.com. And before we get into our show today, let's hear some words from our sponsors. Today's episode of Let's Talk Dispatch is proudly sponsored by Prepared. Their mission is to be public safety's most assistive technology. Revolutionizing how we handle emergencies, Prepared is dedicated to saving more lives and making our communities safer. Learn more about how Prepared is transforming emergency response at prepared911.com. Our next sponsor is Zybex Media. Since 2020, Zybex has been creating impactful recruitment films for their customers. Zybex Media offers their expertise, providing a full range of media solutions designed to attract and retain talent for all PSAPs. Visit zybex.com/media to learn more. These partnerships help us continue to spread the message that the world needs more dispatchers. Interested in partnering with us? Head to theraspydispatcher.com. I really can't stress enough how much those partnerships do allow us to continue to do what we're doing here with the podcast, going to conferences, so on and so forth. So if you haven't checked those folks out, do so ASAP, because A, they're awesome, and B, they get that the world needs more dispatchers, and they're doing their part to support that message. So today I'm going to bring on my guest who has over 9 years of experience in police, fire, and medical. My guest today, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
I am good.
Oh
Here
my
in the
gosh.
Indiana sun.
Oh, Indiana. My mom, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but my mom is actually from Indiana. And I can't think of it. Evansville?
Oh.
Does that sound right? I don't know.
He is on the totally other side of the state than me. That's on the south side. I'm on the north side.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's where it is. Didn't live there for long. I never went there. But that is where she's from. So I have ties there randomly.
Evansville is a neat town. It's about 8 hours for me, but it is a neat town. But
Very
I'm actually
cool.
in northern Indiana.
Okay.
So right on the border of Indiana and Michigan in a town called South Bend. So.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, how'd you get into public safety? How did you find yourself in this lovely line of work?
Well, I was a secretary answering phones when I was about 22 at the prosecutor's office, and the state police post command, what we call it here for Indiana State Police, came in, and one of his dispatchers was leaving to have a baby, wanted to stay home with her child, and he said really loudly, "I'm hiring dispatchers." And I'm sitting right there, and he goes, "I happened to bring an application." And he started talking to me. He's like, "Just give it a try, apply. I've gotten to know you over the last few years." And I applied, got the job, and here I am.
I
No longer
always
with
love.
Indiana State Police because they merged, but yeah, I've worked in other agencies, but here I am.
I always love hearing how people like kind of get pushed into it, and it's like
Mhm.
literally like a hey, I do this job that's kind of wild, which working in law enforcement, it has its own challenges. So they're like, you look like someone who would enjoy a challenge. Come to the
Yeah.
dark side. Come over here.
Unfortunately, I feel like today kind of feels like you look like someone who has a pulse. Come on over here. so, so
No,
sometimes I do feel that way.
it's so true. Um, and I mean, so you went from essentially a desk job, which is
Mhm.
something that a lot of people think is what dispatch is. And
Yeah.
I would imagine once you sat in those seats with that headset on, you realized, whoa,
No,
what am I doing? What was it like
absolutely.
from the beginning, in the beginning for you?
It was definitely a culture change. And, I really, I knew they handled emergencies, but until you've handled a real emergency or until you've heard my baby's not breathing, it you don't know what it feels like to be there and be the line of hope. And remember, you're in that time, it's changed a lot now, but at that time, you're dispatching officers, you're dispatching EMS, and you're giving instructions on the phone all at the
Mhm,
same time. This all happens
mhm,
simultaneously.
mhm.
Today, things have changed a little bit. We have dispatchers, call takers. The structure has changed, but back then, it's like I'm like, you need to push down on the chest 2 inches, and getting the EMS out, making sure everybody gets there, and doing your best to keep this person calm while your insides are doing the tango. So, but you can't show that. You have
Mhm.
to be that voice of, ma'am, I'm getting all kinds of help started to you. We're on the way. We're coming as fast as we safely can.
It's true. And I think, especially with, medical dispatch,
Mhm.
I say it often is you are literally trying to get someone to perform
Mhm.
life-saving treatment on
Yeah,
someone they love. Like, it's
absolutely.
such a hard ask, and it's a stranger asking them to do this and kinda walking them through that, and there's so much power and hope in
Mhm.
that, and, like, it's just an awesome, awesome job, really.
And I tell people um I really understood my job a lot more when my father had a heart attack. And
Mhm.
I, as a dispatcher, had to call 911 and I did not remember my own address.
Yeah.
I am a medical police fire dispatcher and I did not remember my own address.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's true, and it's one of those things where, I talk about 911 prep, right? Like, prepare for when you have to contact us, have a non-emergency number in your phone, all
absolutely.
those things, and I understand why we're asking these questions and so on and so forth,
Mhm.
because the coolest cucumber thinks that they're gonna be fine in an
Yeah.
emergency, and they're not, and you never know how you're gonna respond. Even as a trained 911
Mhm.
dispatcher, there's a moment where it's like, I'm in it and I gotta make this happen. And we
Yeah.
struggle as humans, we struggle. So,
Yeah, I remember being like, I do not remember my address. I'm
yeah,
like, I know you're going to ask me this question multiple times. And, my father's fine. He made it. He's fine. But
awesome. Awesome.
being in that situation really put me on the other side of that call. Like,
Mhm.
I have a lot more empathy for people when they're like, I don't know my address. And I'm like, okay, well, look at the rapid because
Yeah.
I had more empathy because I was sitting there going, I'm helpless right now.
It's true. We can get very compassion, what's the word that we use often? Fatigue.
Hmm.
We're taking so many of these same calls,
Yeah.
and those basic things like, why don't you know your like the basic thing, like for us, we know we're gonna ask you for your address. How do you not have your location here? And then we spend 10 minutes like, well, you can't map me. It's like, no, I can't map you. No,
No,
if I could map you, I wouldn't ask you. Like,
and it's funny. They say in 911 that your worst day is my Tuesday.
mhm.
So for us, that compassion fatigue, like this is the worst thing in a lot of cases. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to this person.
Mhm.
For us, it's the third time today.
Right? Third time in an hour.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's 3:00, time for chest pain. So, but to them, they're watching their loved one die, and this is the worst thing that's ever happened, and they're alone.
Yeah.
And so, I just take a deep breath every time that 911 phone rings. It's going to be all right. There's lots of help coming to you. We got everybody coming.
Yeah. And do you honestly like those? Because I don't do medical. I transfer. I'm a law enforcement, and those calls are the ones that get me. They make me, they make me feel like I'm watching a Grey's Anatomy episode when I'm transferring someone who's like, my husband passed, or my wife died, and even if they knew it was coming, like this person was this person's person, and they're now calling for someone to come get this body. And it's just like, it's so sad. It's one of my saddest calls. And I don't even have to field them. I just have to transfer them.
We have this beautiful thing in my agency that I love that we do, that we say, is there anyone we can call for you?
That's very sweet.
Is there anyone that we can has to call you or come over?
Yeah.
Is there anything that we can do for you? Can we? And so we try to get somebody there that's familiar with them. For a hospice nurse that we can get a hold of. A lot of times people in that case will have phone numbers somewhere. The hospice nurse will tell them, hey, write these phone numbers down because you're going to forget them. Who can we call? Is there a family member that we can send to your house?
Yeah.
So we can get someone they're familiar with. And that's something I think that's beautiful that my agency does, is who can we contact to be with you so you're not alone, and a lot of times not thinking straight and not making great choices sometimes. So
yeah, I love that. I love that you folks are taking that extra step, because it's not required, right? Like my job is to send the help and move on, essentially. So the fact that you guys are very intentional with taking that extra step is awesome. It's something, it's a reminder that even in our busy agencies, even when we're slammed, like to just connect with that human aspect of things again,
And that's one thing I do love about our job is we also have happy things happen. We have babies come, or sometimes we have babies and then you join the Stork Club.
Yeah.
We have what we call frequent flyers, who are people who, at one point were, maybe, I don't know how to put it, but they've finally gone into some older stages of life, and they call and they just want to talk to you because they're lonely. Don't do that on a 911 line.
Call it out emergency. We had a frequent flyer at my first agency, and either you loved them or you hated them. Like that was the vibe. And they would answer the phone. What can I change their name to? They'd always go, hello, this is Charles. And you're like, hey, Charles. And you're like, you just got cussed out and like dealing with like all these terrible people. And then you get Charles on your line. And I'm like, hey, Charles, how you doing? Did you eat today? But then I could tell if someone else got Charles before me, because Charles was like, I'm sorry. And, I'm like, who yelled at Charles? Like, and my coworker would be like, I didn't yell at him. I just told him to stop calling unless he needed us. And I'm like, you leave him alone.
He's our comic relief.
Yeah, exactly. So people either love them or hate them, but yeah, as long as you're not calling 911, we got time. We'll work through that. But
I like the ones who are like, I just want to tell you, the older lady who calls, she's like, I just want to tell you, your officers are really good looking. Thank you, friend. I just sitting there, but it's comic.
We're like, yeah, I'm responsible for all of that. Yeah, that's me. I'm the high HR over here.
I was like, they're fun to look at, but don't touch. She'll say, my electric bill, I paid it today.
Thank you.
But it's that ray of sunshine, like just a normal conversation where no one's getting shot at, stabbed, heart stopped. It's just like a normal conversation that you'd have with your grandmother.
Yeah, it's so funny. I remember like talking to people, and telling them like what I do and things like that. And they're like, how's work? And I'm like, boring. And they're like, well, isn't that good? Like, everyone's okay. I'm like, yeah, I don't want like a casualty. I just want like a light jog, you know,
I think that.
a little wound. You don't know. I don't want anyone to be hurt or anyone to, you know, not be okay. But you know, a
Something.
little adrenaline pump right now would be wonderful because I'm dragging. But there's just, you know, a good day at work for us looks so different than a good day for anyone else. And the way that looks can look different each day for us too, right?
That's
Like,
true.
you know, some days I want us to all be in it. And then some days they keep putting stop after stop. I'm like, why are you bothering me?
Why are you running your own personal
Doing
OPO?
your job. Leave me alone. When you do stuff, I have to do stuff. You know? It's terrible.
You're saving the world one traffic stop at a
I
time.
know, right? Like, come on. It was a Subaru we pulled over. What are we looking for right now? Stop it.
Like, I get you're having fun, but you're annoying me.
Right? I just heated up my food for the third time. Can we just relax?
Like, how about I send you a call when you get hot food? I'm gonna wait till you go on lunch break. I'm gonna send you a call.
Right?
So,
That's so
I'm not
funny.
gonna mark you out. So,
Well, do you remember any of your like early calls for service or first
do
calls?
remember in my very first night alone, and this is a sad call, but reality hurts. My first night alone, like, because in that place we could work alone. After 10, the second dispatcher would go home and you would handle all the radio because it was state police. And I got a call about a fatal car accident, and that was one of my first nights.
Gosh.
And first night alone, and there was a 3 fatal. But let me tell you, that night showed me real fast what I was doing for a living. And that was on the first night. There was no easing into it.
Yeah.
And that was for me. And my boss did come in because I was alone. So she got there about an hour after it happened to help out, and because I was alone. But
yeah, 3 fatal alone. Yeah, that's busy. Yeah,
it's busy, and again, you're doing all that. You don't say corner. We don't say corner on the radio. We say 1079 Lorraine or this, and getting everybody there. And sometimes I'm thankful for that busyness because the reality of what's going on kind of escapes you because you're so busy with the logistics.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not until later when you're sitting there going, 3 people lost their lives because somebody changed lanes.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and the calls don't stop.
No,
like, the world doesn't know that these 3 things occurred. And the world keeps going, and people keep calling 911, and other emergencies keep happening, and you're the solo dispatcher in there. You know what I mean? So I think that's a reality folks don't connect with either.
Yeah, and my greatest call from early on in my career, this is maybe about a year in, I had a 3-year-old call me, and she was going on 4, and they had done 911 for kids at school, at preschool. So she calls me, and she goes, "My mommy is sick." Okay, I was like, "Can I talk to mommy? Can I talk to her?" Sure. Hands the phone to mom, and mom goes, and I'm like, "This is 911. Your daughter calls you were sick." She goes, "I have a head cold. I told her to watch TV while I lay down." And the little girl is like, at school, they said if somebody's sick, call 911.
That's
hilarious. I don't get what I did. That's what they told me to do in her 3-year-old brain.
Yeah.
She was doing, and so I was like, you know what? You helped, mommy. You did a good job.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
Hey, that headache could have been a brain aneurysm. We don't know.
Yeah, that's true. We don't know. And, we didn't send anybody because mom's like, "I don't need an ambulance. I just need a nap and a babysitter."
Yeah. Well, I got these good-looking officers. We'll send them over.
We'll send one of them. They can sit and play with your kid. But, and I was just like, I thought that was just so, like, this child was so worried about her mom. And it was one of those things that ended well. It was just a head cold. It could have gone so many different ways, but her little voice was like, "I'm doing what's right. I'm doing right, mommy."
Aw. Hey, and you know what? You didn't get mad at her. You didn't take this moment to lecture or educate.
No.
I don't know how much she remembers of her 3-4-year-old self, but I'm sure if she could look back and remember that feeling calling 911, it's a good one.
Yeah. It's and there are calls that we get that are just that are funny, that are comic relief. It does happen.
Yeah.
It does. Unfortunately, those are sometimes few and far between when you're busy, but it does happen.
And speaking of busy, we have a lot of comm centers. I mean, it's common knowledge. It's one of the reasons that my platform exists, that we have a staffing crisis, and that
Absolutely.
some agencies are reporting up to 70% staffing vacancies. Why is this an issue?
In talking with other dispatchers, past and present, I think there are two main reasons, maybe three, that I've identified. The first one is this job is a sacrifice, and I will scream it from the mountaintops. You will not have Christmas off your first year in most cases. You will not get to go to every summer festival. You'll be working that weekend. This is a sacrifice. We work nights, we work weekends, we work holidays. We cannot put a sign on the door or a message that says we are out.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be times when you get what we call mandated, meaning you got to come in. There's usually runs by a list. You'll get a call. You're being mandated. That's not an option. And I think what happens when people are in that first classroom period, as we call it, the first 2 months, and everything's cool. You're maybe working Monday through Friday. It doesn't occur to you what that means until it's Christmas Eve and you're getting mandated. And you're like, but I have dinner with my family. I'm like, so did I. Christmas at the council is a thing. I spent I don't even know how many Christmases at the council, and Christmas Eve too. And we try to make it festive. We do. But the truth is, Christmas at the council is a thing.
Yeah.
And everybody has to do it. Now, are there dispatchers who've been around for a very long time who usually get those off because of seniority? Absolutely. But they paid their dues.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they've done Christmas at the council many, many times.
Yeah.
They've missed baseball games with their kids. I guarantee it. So that needs to be, I don't know how to get it through their head. Like, we have them sign a paper. We say it over again in classroom. We say it in the interview. We say it in training over and over and over again. And it's until they have to miss something that they're like, but it's Fusion Fest this weekend.
You going to fuse to this seat at your chair.
That's right. You go, and I'm like, yep, it is. And we've had people leave. Well, I don't want to miss my Christmas. I didn't want to miss it either for the last however many years.
And you know what? That's valid. Like, if you don't, this is a sacrifice. And if you don't want to do those things, more power to you, man. Like,
that's true.
We're not, this isn't a secret we're keeping. This is,
But we just ask that you recognize it, early on, and not after you've gone through months of training and gotten all your certs and then one day just call and say, yeah, I quit. I don't want to work Christmas. If that is what you want, we're just asking you to think deeply about what we're saying and not just sign the paper because it hasn't occurred to you what you're saying.
And I mean, to be devil's advocate, like, us as agencies, we can take a look at our schedules, take a look at seniority, take a look at ways to be creative so we can honor seniority and time earned, as well as look at retention and not just dumping on the last person on the list because they're the last person on the list, right? So there's got to be a balance of where we're rewarding the top and acknowledging that the bottom doesn't want to feel crappy for 365 days a year, so
getting Arbor Day off for 5 years. And that is absolutely a thing that they should be looking at. Unfortunately, I do believe most agencies just go, this is how we've always done it.
Yeah,
maybe that's an important thing. Let's look at it. I mean, I know of an agency that this girl had worked there for 16 years, and they were so low on staff that she was working every single night, 12-hour shifts from April to August, straight, her day off.
It's crazy.
And she asked for one day. She asked for her son's 15th birthday off. It was important to him. They said no. She turned in her resignation and went to a different agency.
Good for her. Yeah, hell yeah.
Good. And I applaud you. I'm like, do that. Don't give that day up.
Yeah.
You're a talented dispatcher. You asked for one day.
Yeah. And I think it's important to empower people to know that we love this job. It's a great job. It's a calling, all those fancy buzzwords, right? But at the end of the day, this is a department. This is a business. This is, I am an employee, And the moment that you are not being valued, and that's to say, we're always going to have beef with supervisors. I mean, it's just the natural way of things. Like, no one's going to be 100% perfect. Someone's going to upset you, all those things. But when it's something that is a 10 on your scale and you're like, this is not okay, start looking elsewhere. All centers are not created equal. And if you are a stand-up dispatcher, you come to work, you do your job, you do the overtime, those things should be rewarded. And if your department's not valuing you, go find one that will, because there's
plenty.
Great,
And as I've said before, there's more than just municipal dispatch. There are so many opportunities. I was just looking earlier at USA Jobs in preparation for this. They've got jobs at national parks. They have jobs at military bases that are civilians. There's colleges that hire. There's hospitals that hire. It's not just you have to go to the county and take the 911 job. If you don't feel that that's for you, look for something like a hospital. Look for a campus. Look for maybe national parks. Bureau of Land Management, they have dispatchers. Border Control, they have dispatchers.
Yeah, it's wild.
There's also travel. There's 2 travel companies that I know. There may be more now, but there's 2 travel companies that I know of where you can go around the country and dispatch. You do have to have experience to do that.
So they'll try to do that a week off of training. Yeah, no. I know people are doing it, but just the thought of it gives me anxiety. Like, because I've lateraled, no, thank you. Not for Ashley at this point in her life, but a lot of dispatchers do it. And
they enjoy it. You meet people from around the country. And so just look at all the opportunities, because it doesn't necessarily mean you have to sit in a PSAP, or, you can go all kinds of places and look at all kinds of opportunities. Maybe that PSAP is a little much with the, all 3 of them. Go to a hospital.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to EMD in a hospital. If you're EMD in a hospital, what hospital?
There that can do more.
So, usually you're going to do police dispatch in a hospital, but there is going to be where you're probably not going to have the traffic stops, but you're going to have a different kinds of calls.
Yeah.
That might be more, it's probably going to be a little more customer service type thing. That might be up your alley. Look at it.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I have no desire to do medical dispatching. Not my thing. Don't want to do it. Don't want to hear about what was put where or what's come out of what. I'm good. But for some people, they love medical. They love that part of it. And so for me, looking for jobs, especially when I was lateraling, like, I looked for that. I wanted just a law enforcement agency. That's kind of where my passion is. And that's what I ended up finding. So you have to there's so much out there. You just have to figure out what works for you, what makes your heart sing.
I did campus for a long time, and I just I look at people and go, I'm afraid to do medical. Look for a hospital job. Look for do hospital police. You won't be EMDing. If you are, what kind of police? Maybe some fire stuff. Or campus. You're probably going to be working with police again on different kinds of calls. Again, that customer service type of call, but maybe you're great at that. You don't want to do the, the high level, cardiacs and that kind of thing, but you still want to do emergencies. Those are great options.
Heck yeah. And you said there were 2 other things that you found cause our vacancies?
The other thing that a lot of people said was toxic centers. People with attitudes. I have witnessed trainers texting things about trainees that are not necessary.
Yeah.
I witnessed it. Found out, this person was texting other people. This person sucks. She shouldn't be here. She quit 3 days later.
Rightfully so.
I didn't think she was doing bad. I wasn't her trainer, but I was like, what were you thinking? That the clicks, that stuff has to stop. We are at some places at 70% vacancy, and these people are willing to come in and learn. And I believe the old adage, and not everybody can do this job. Not everybody can do this job, but things have changed since those days when I started, when you were phone and radio and this and that. Today, a lot of centers have call takers and dispatchers. And usually the dispatchers are not on the phone unless things are crazy. And so those jobs have been separated in a lot of centers, not all of them, but a lot of centers have that.
Yeah.
And, or you're just the fire dispatcher and not the all three dispatcher. Those are usually bigger centers, but I'm sitting here thinking this person is in here wanting to learn, and you're getting text messages 3 or 4 a day to be mandated, and you're going to do that?
It's so wild. Like, I don't know. There's got to be some psychology about it that I just haven't studied, because I was just on someone else's podcast yesterday that I guest on, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if we just don't want time off, or if we just love only going to work and not seeing our family. But the way trainers historically have, 8 they're young and push people out, don't want this person to make it, or are day one, like they can't do it. Like, of course they can't do it. It's day one.
Like, if they could do it, I'd be very surprised.
Right. We wouldn't even.
Could you do it at day one?
So just that exists is just such a, it's such a double negative. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand how people, trainers, can do that. Like, I want you to be successful. I need you to pass. I need you to take this shit from me, like, it's just such an interesting thing, and I'm sure there's some type of something that needs to be studied about it.
Absolutely.
It blows my mind. I like time off. My center is staffed. We are rocking. We're chilling, and that's how everyone should be. I should be able to do podcasts on my days off, because I don't feel like I'm going to get mandated every week, like that should be the reality.
And I've seen this. I've seen this over and over. And I'm, the center being mean to a trainee. Where I have seen a trainer get mad at a trainee who literally been on the job 2 days. Don't ever do that again. Go take a break. She's going to walk.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
and I'm gonna hold the door open for her. You just
did, and kicked her in the booty on the way out.
Right? Like, you right. Bye. We'll tell your friends.
And they go to another agency, maybe a smaller agency, and they thrive. And I'm like, I'm trying to understand the mentality of just, especially, I came in as a lateral at a new agency, and my trainer was just, she expected something different than what I knew how to do, because I was trained one way in my agency. No, and I'm trying to change things over. And she expected this perfect dispatcher on day one, doing everything her way. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, not at all. As a fellow lateral myself, that shit is hard.
Yeah, it is.
Lateraling is a beast. When I went live yesterday, a bunch of people were like laterals, and they're like, I'm in it. Like, I'm like holding on. I was like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel right. And I'm like, you got to push past that, because you're a great dispatcher. I know you're a great dispatcher. Just learning a new language is tough. And that's what you're doing when you're lateraling, is you're learning someone else's language and how to do this thing. And, it's tough. It's hard. It's not for the weak.
It's not. And I feel like for me, like my agency, now you would get in trouble, but we were so short staffed that their pretty much attitude was get the call in and get the call in. Yeah. Use the proper protocol, get that call in and get them started.
Yeah.
The new agency was like, we say everything one way, and we do that, and we have this exact wording and this and that. And my old agency was like, get the address, get it right. Look at the rapid.
Yeah.
And now they're like, you must say it exactly like this. And I was like, the difference between what is the phone number you're calling from and what is the phone number? I just, what's your phone number? What's your name? No, you must get their first and last name and spell it right. Wait, I don't get time for that. and ask their address twice, which we did before. But, and it's good things. It's good to be that way. But a lateral may not be trained that way.
Yeah.
Their CAD may be completely different. Their protocols may work completely different, like how you pull them up. Protocols might be different, but how you pull them up, or, I may run this under the EPD or the police protocol, whereas my agency may run it under the medical protocol, because the protocols have similar things in each thing. There's fire, medical, police. They're similar. Because some agencies have police, some agencies have medical, So Some have all three, like we do. So my old agency may run, let's just say, a suicidal threat. I'm going to run that under medical because under psychiatric, they run it under police.
Yeah.
Unless,
That.
unless it's happened, and then we run it under medical. That's the thing. They run traffic. They have 3 different protocols for different types of traffic. We just ran it under fire traffic collision. Yeah. So I'm sorry for those of you that aren't dispatchers and you're looking at me like, she
There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. That's what we're saying. Right? So if you're getting into this line of work and one agency doesn't feel great, I mean, it might just not have been the agency for you. If you're, and that's one of the reasons we should be super supportive of our trainees,
absolutely,
even our laterals. Like learning this job again. It's tough.
A lot of times the laterals don't go through what we call classroom phase. Usually the first 2 to 3 months of a dispatcher, you're in a classroom. You might spend some time on the floor, but you're learning. They don't do that with us. They want us on that floor. So, so you're not learning their language. You're just on the floor right away. You don't have that 2 months of how they use their CAD or how their CAD works. Don't have that. And it might be a totally different CAD for you. Some labs have what we call a command line, meaning you type things into a line and the computer does it. Whereas some are call-based and you put the name and the address. So, and you don't have command line. Some have both and they don't use it. So it's all, and some agencies you have to do everything command-based.
Yeah. So what is the third thing you have discovered that keeps those vacancy rates high?
I honestly think that some people go through that first traumatic thing. Like my first night, I have gone through an officer on duty death that was now shooting, and the support was not there. It was pick up the call.
Yeah.
And I think it just eats at them, and without someone to talk to, they're just like, I can't do it. I can't live. Sometimes it's guilt. I'm telling the officer that I had, who unfortunately passed in a traffic accident, I still live with that guilt to this day, because sometimes I feel like, was this my fault? And it really wasn't. I mean, it was a car accident. There's nothing I can do about a car accident. But so I feel like that the support's not there, and that is changing. There's peer support now, but back then there wasn't.
Yeah,
there wasn't. He died. We went to a funeral. That was it. Keep working. I apologize for the noise in the background.
No problem. But no, it's true. We have these huge incidents that occur, and I think that is definitely an interesting thought, is that even with support, sometimes that one call is all it takes for someone to be like, I'm good, like, I don't want to hear something similar or close to it, or that one was the one for me and I'm all right. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can definitely see that being a reason people leave early, for sure.
But I think that can be changed by today. A lot of times you're pulled off the floor, supervisor pull you off, debrief with you, work with you. What can we do to support you? But I know that doesn't happen everywhere. And like I said, when we had my officer death, nothing happened. It was, they found his car, he's deceased, pick up the next phone call.
That's tough.
And I was dispatching, and I remember calling out 115 State with no answer.
Yeah.
And that is the most terrifying thing in the world as a dispatcher. When you call to an officer and he doesn't respond, he had better. You
got 2 clicks before I turn the beeper on and send everybody looking for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, officers who get mad at us for status checking, don't do that to dispatchers. We're doing our job and checking on you. We're making sure you're okay. I do not understand your attitude about being status checked.
Yeah.
So why? This is what we're paid to do. We're making sure you get home to your family. And I have no officers like, don't status check me on traffic stops. Don't do traffic stops.
Traffic stops and DVs, the highest fatalities. Like that's where we're gonna that's where we're gonna status check you. Like you just never know who you're approaching.
Guess you better stop. You better stop doing traffic stops then. And I've seen dispatchers who turn in their badge like, I can't do it anymore, because nobody worked with them. Nobody asked the question, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It is okay to struggle with this. What can we do to support you? Do you need some time off? Do you need a counselor? What can we do? Can we take you out to dinner and just talk? Whatever. And I don't think that, I think it's changing, but I think that for a long time that did not happen.
Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do. And speaking of that, how can we make an impact on the staffing crisis in our centers, whether it's something we think our supervisors can do better or something we as folks who are on the front lines can do better?
Well, I think, like I said before, don't eat trainees. Don't eat them. They're not yummy.
They don't taste great. I mean, come on.
The constant overtime is while your check likes it. It doesn't, after a while, your whole life is in the center, and you don't need that either. That's not good for your mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that there are trainees that maybe aren't the best for your center. That doesn't mean they're a bad dispatcher.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not your center.
Yeah.
And I think, remember the days when you were first training? Remember that. The day, your first day, did you rock it? I guarantee you didn't. I didn't. I sounded like an idiot.
A hot mess. Yeah.
I mean, my first day, I remember he called in a plate and a name at the same time, and he asked for the plate return, and I gave the name. And I think also another thing we can do, and I know sometimes they don't do this because they're police officers and that just is, but talk to your officers about how they treat dispatchers. And dispatchers, be nice to your officers, but talk to them. Remember, these are trainees.
Yeah.
Like, I have yelled at officers before. I'm like, when you were an FTO, you gave me an intersection that was all the way across town as a traffic stop, so shut it. Remember, they have a trainer listening, so you're not gonna. Somebody's hearing it that has experience. Be nice. Be nice, as in be nice on the radio. We don't need you to come in and say hi and get to know. but I don't know if that happens in your center, but whenever we get a young female dispatcher, all of a sudden,
the flow comes in. But there is something to say about coming in and saying hi when you don't need something from us. So when you give attitude on the radio, air quotes, or I give attitude on the radio, air quotes, we have this familiarity that we're like, oh, that's Ashley. She's not like that. Like, no, like it's so the misunderstandings decrease when you have a relationship, with your people. The miscommunication tends to reduce itself just by knowledge of who the heck you're talking to,
In Indiana now, in 2014, a law went through that we can only have one or maybe two communication centers in each county. So you have all these about 10-year-old communication centers, but they were moved out of the police stations.
Oh.
And so, is your communication center in your police station?
Yes, but we're very small. At my last agency, we had a separate comm center.
Okay.
And multiple hubs,
Yeah, that changed things because they weren't coming in. Now, when I worked for the campus until we merged, it was right there down the hall from their squad room. So we had that camaraderie. I knew their faces. I knew their stories. I knew what they were doing. And that changes you as a dispatcher because when it's just 366, and I'm not saying that we don't take care of them, but there's not that personal relationship, that face in your mind, like, oh, that's
just an identifier. I don't know you.
Yeah, I have no idea who you are, why you're talking to me that way.
You would have no idea. I talk to you daily,
And like that, really, there's nothing like the police and other disciplines too, but police officer dispatcher relationship, there's nothing like it. This is a relationship where they're relying on you for their life in a lot of cases, and you become protective of them. You realize, what you're telling them could save their life, and they know that you're their lifeline. And I think when dispatchers and police officers stopped being together professionally, because what I'm talking about. And so when they stopped seeing their names, I'm like, oh, that's Chase, and he has 2 kids and a dog, and I saw his daughter's birthday present, last week. That kind of thing, that changes your relationship with them. They're a person out there now. Not just an officer who is yelling at me because,
It's true. I have a coworker now who it speaks to like have a separate life outside of your work.
Mhm.
And she tells us all the time, she's like, y'all cool, but like I don't think of y'all once I leave.
Yeah.
Like you guys are my coworkers, y'all cool, love ya, but like you're my coworkers and period. And I love her for that, like totally cool. If I need her to cover shift, she'll come through, or but like any like drama or like gossip, she's like, I am not thinking about you guys when I leave this building. And I'm like, that's such a great mentality to have. Like, I'm a great partner, I'm a great coworker, but I don't think about y'all when I leave here. And it's like, some people are like, oh, that's messed up. I'm like, that is smart. Protect your space. You really, because we really don't need like this idea, like we're a family here. Awesome. But also I got family out there. Like I'm glad we get along here. But there is something to say about having some separation between this and our personal lives, I mean, as I'm on a podcast talking about dispatch, but having that separation, it's healthy. It's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Protect our space,
and protect your brain. I tell people, if you're going to do this job, you need to have something that's totally not dispatch. You cannot live in here. You can't live in this place 24 hours a day. It will drive you crazy.
Up the wall.
When you hang up the phone, it's over. Mm-hmm. The medics are there. The police are there. Hang it up. It's over.
1,000%.
And don't ask what happened. Sometimes you can look in the call and see. Hang it up. It's over. You did your job, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Have hobbies outside of here. I personally love the state of California. I do not live in the state of California because apparently God does not like me that much. And he's in this Midwestern state of Indiana, which is so beautiful. But I love movies. I love the Oscars. I love all of that stuff. That's kind of what I immerse my time in, watching YouTube on that. Something that is completely different from my job or even the state that I live in. Wow. It's really nice to think about Southern California when it's -5. So, and again, trainers and agencies out there, welcome newcomers, welcome them, help them. You're only helping yourself, because I'm telling you, we are probably the last generation that's going to be willing to do this job. And the generation behind us, well, I think about it this way. The generation behind us isn't really signing up to do this job. So who's going to do it when we get older? Yeah. Who's going to do it when we're too old to do it?
But let me tell you, it ain't going to be me when I can retire and out this thing.
We have retirees that we call in because we don't have the help. I'm like, man, when I signed that retirement paper, no, absolutely. What's your name? Yeah. Well, I forgot where the comm center is.
Right? I'm going to call 911 just to mess with you. Like, I don't work here no more. I don't have no emergency. I just want to say hi.
And the generation, I mean, there's some, but this job is not getting, like, when I started, there was 150 applicants. After the next job, there was 150 applicants. I only got my job because the person that hired before me caught a case. so today,
I just made a reel about that. They're like, can we apply if we have a misdemeanor? I'm like, yeah.
What was it?
Not all misdemeanors are equal, but like, yes, air quotes, like felonies, probably not.
At this point, maybe. I consider it a felony. What was it?
It depends. Gray area,
But that's really where we're at with hiring.
Yeah. No,
and I see that there's applications there, but it's retaining people, I think. It's not necessarily the application rate, it's the retention rate.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, be nice to these people. Welcome them. Don't send text messages about how they suck. Don't do that. You're just poisoning the entire center against them.
It's true.
It's their second day. You sucked on your second day. Guarantee it. I know your second day was 32 years ago, but you still So, and I remember when you were in training or starting a new job. I mean, I try really hard when they bring in new people. Like, I'm always decorating their locker for them.
I mean, it goes such a long way because training in this job is like no other. I mean, it's just constant critique, constant critique, constant critique. You could do that differently. You could do that better. It's like that's how it's designed, and that's how it should be designed. But it's to be, I mean, just go home and have your partner, your person, your family member just critique you for hours. Just every little thing. And it's with love. It's with a support. I want you to do it. Like, it's not, let's say it's the most positive critiquing situation training that you have. It still sucks. Like, it's just draining. So, like, helping people get through that and things like that go a long way. It makes people feel good.
I mean, if you see trainees who did not the greatest job on a call, I'll be like, you know what? One time I did this. You know,
Heck yeah.
Like, I put out the call on the wrong channel. Like, I do that daily. I don't.
Well, I am far from the perfect dispatcher. I make mistakes. I can do things better. I mean, and anyone who's dispatching in these centers and who don't have that mentality, like, wake up. Like, we are human. We will daily make some type of mistake, some type of, I could have done that better. I could have asked that differently. Like, that's just reality. Like, it's cool. Like, we're doing our best at a tough job. That's all we can do.
At the end of the day, did the person get help? Did the help get there? Did everybody walk away with what they needed? You did your job. Okay, so you forgot to ask the address the second time. It is on your rapid. You should watch, but I don't think it's a reason to berate someone for 20 minutes.
Well, I feel like we've given so much advice, but is there any other advice you would give someone who is considering a career in dispatch as we come to an end?
I would say stick with it. If you're having problems or struggling, reach out. There's lots of dispatcher groups online. I mean, you can reach out to any dispatcher. We'll talk you through it. We were there. Stick with it. If this is really what you want to do, and if you're in a toxic center, talk to someone. Is there a director that be like, hey, this just happened? Not to get somebody in trouble. That's not what we're looking to do. But maybe the director doesn't know that this person over here is sending nasty text messages to all her coworkers. Maybe there's a way they can address it. Because many times that stuff happens and they just squirt on down to the next one, next comm center, and they succeed. And I think a lot of dispatchers are now doing other jobs because we failed them in training.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I mean, when we get new dispatch, I'm all I decorate their lockers. I put candy inside of it, little bowl of candy.
Awesome. So good. I'm telling you, I don't know these dispatchers, but I know they love it. I know it's such a wonderful, it's so, like, it's easy to be kind, and it goes a long way.
It does. And they walk in and they see that, open it. There's like new pens, a lunchbox, these little things that we have, the swag we have. I just fill it with little gifts, little swag, make them feel like part, welcome to the family, or welcome, little signs that say, welcome, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Would you like to work for me on Saturday?
I heard you got off of your solo now.
Guess what? The game just changed. And I also would say, if you're really in a situation that's bad, and maybe you've tried everything and it's not a good fit, I'm not saying you're a bad dispatcher. Maybe it's just not a fit with that agency. Every agency's taking applications.
Heck yeah. Try another one.
Try a different one. Maybe there's one, maybe smaller, bigger, whatever, that might be a little more, for you.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for jumping on here and sharing some awesome insight with your experience and just, who you are as a person. It's been wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'll be right back with you.
All right.
All right, everybody. That was another amazing episode here at Let's Talk Dispatch. Honestly, truly, if you are at a center that you're not getting good vibes from, that you don't feel appreciated, whether you're new or, been doing it there for 15 years, it's okay to start looking elsewhere and think about something, think about a shift. And if you are just getting into this line of work and considering what kind of dispatching you want to do, there are, as Jennifer stated, tons of different options to look for. USA Jobs, government jobs, those are all great sites to find a plethora of options of careers that you can dabble into. So definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button. Check out our resources at theraspydispatcher.com. And until next time, stay raspy, everybody. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Dispatch podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the show, or maybe even submitting your own story, you can do all that and more at theraspydispatcher.com. Until next time, stay raspy.